This is episode number 164 of the Smart Marketing Show, Freelancer Marketing Angles. Thank you to our sponsor, ServerPress, makers of desktop server. They make local WordPress development easy. Check them out over at serverpress.com. And your name here, they're not a sponsor, but they could be. It's your name here. Help us out. You can also help us out as a sponsor or Patreon by going over to patreon.com/WPwatercooler. I'm Jason Tucker. I'm an IT director and web developer. Find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter. This is my friend Bridget Willard. She is a marketing consultant. You can find her at You Too Can Be a Guru. And our guest today, Rhonda Negard. She's a creative director over at Fat Dog Creatives.
Yay!
And probably a whole bunch of other stuff, and we're going to totally find out about that stuff in just a second here. How are all of you doing this morning?
Good. It's raining here, but we have blue skies, which is a nice change from the Pacific Northwest.
Nice.
Sorry, Washington friends.
I know I saw Robert put a tweet out. It goes, I got to get all my work done because when the sun comes out, I'm out of here.
Oh, yeah. This place just starts getting crazy over there.
Yeah, for sure. No, we in Southern California, we got the June gloom. So it's just the marine layer the whole month,
yeah.
which is great, but it's also like, wah, 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 wah. It's like just a little taste of the seasonal affect disorder.
Small taste. Just wait till you go through multiple 8 to 10 month rainy seasons.
I know, right?
Exactly.
I'll be having a sun lamp or something like that. So one of my favorite emails that I get that I actually read is from the future. But Chris Doe.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the recent videos they have was talking about freelancers and how much you should charge, which is, everybody who's listened to me talk knows by now that I'm pretty adamant about how people should be charging and primarily by knowing how much you cost yourself, right? So, but one of the things that we're talking about is when people hire freelancers, that the price isn't always a determining factor. So we thought this would be a really great conversation since a lot of us hire vendors and are vendors.
Mm-hmm.
So what really matters to you, Rhonda, when you're hiring or outsourcing or partnering with somebody?
Yeah, I want to know the full total. I don't care about hourly rates. One, because I don't charge hourly rates, and I don't care how long it takes you to get it, to get it done, as long as you get it done by the deadline, right? Because some people will marinate, and then just a few hours before the deadline, that's when they kick in. Well, because some people's flow state is, greatly impacted and influenced by that pressure of a deadline, and then they hit that deadline, but they hit it, right? But it's last minute, but I don't care.
Yeah
it's the total price of the job, and that way I know how much of a margin I can get on it, because even though they're doing, I say, the bulk of the work, like the heavy lifting, being the go-between takes time. And so I need to be compensated for that as well. And also being the creative director and just the project manager, which I hate. Try not to outsource if I can, get away with doing it all myself. But, it is a necessity often that we have to outsource.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I'm a freelancer, but I also outsource sometimes for the writing, especially on one client, because it's not imperative that I am the writer. Because a lot of times I get hired because I'm the writer.
Right.
So, and I don't outsource the actual social media management because that's why I get hired. But, I've used 3 or 4 people. They always hit the deadlines. And I'm like, that's great. Now I have a whole list of people on the bench, that I can come to if my workload gets too crazy. I could be like, oh my gosh, I need help. Can you do this by blah, 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 blah time?
Yep.
So
I just outsourced actually today, or started the conversation 2 days ago, but I just outsourced a project that I technically could have gotten done, but it's the first of several projects for this one client. And by the time she needs them, I won't be available. So I'm just outsourcing to him. And so that was one of the things where I had the conversation. I was like, I brought the client and I'm going to be the middle person. So, we negotiated his rate down because he didn't have to, search for it. He was the first person I reached out to. So, we got a great rate. It's going to be a great project because it's so easy and he is so good. He's going to blow her away, which makes me look good too.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, he's not charging hourly, which is great. But he's an older student. But I say student, but he's an adult, not far from my age. So he understands. But a lot of the students that I see, because I do teach at a university as an adjunct faculty member, and pricing is one of the biggest things that they struggle with. And they almost always want to know what my hourly rate is. And I always tell them, I don't have one.
Yeah.
I know it.
Yeah, especially when like the hourly rate may not like if you're really fast or you're really good at a particular thing, that hourly rate doesn't mean anything to you. It just means that you're not having to work as hard or as fast. You just get the job done and be done with it. So if you charge at a project rate, then yeah, it's definitely going to be a little bit different, and you may end up benefiting from it altogether.
And people don't always understand either. So like with the writing, which I do sometimes, it's a lot of people charge by the word. And so I'm like, I'm not charging by the word because I'm not going to just add in words like, Lewis Carroll or something.
Right, because it takes away from the flow of the work, and you don't want to add work. The best communication is the simplest, right?
Yeah. And it takes time to be in your mind, just like you were saying, like you have to be in your mind thinking about that project. It's taking up some of your RAM in your brain, right? So you're doing it as the best way for that specific client, for that specific project, right? And so one of my clients asked me, how much do you charge for a 300 to 500 word post? I'm like, $175. He goes, wow, that's a lot. Like, I'm like, well, he goes, who pays that? I go, my other clients. Feel free to outsource it, like, or have one of your in-house writers do it. And he was just like, I can't believe you get paid that. And I'm like, my peers get paid $250, $350, $400 for that.
Oh yeah.
So, and I'm just like, I just charge a little higher because I don't, I do the editing fast. So that's a lower price. But also like, if I have to come up with the whole thing, it takes me days and days and days. And then I sit down, it's 30 minutes. So I understand that whole process. Like as a designer, you're saying your head's in it, and maybe it feels like they know that deadline, but also they're thinking, they're processing, they're trying to think, what does this mean? And all of this, like actually when you were helping us with the rebrand on the Smart Marketing Show, you gave us that big giant worksheet, and Jason and Bridget generally aren't procrastinators, but I'm pretty sure it took us 3 months to do it.
At least 2, yeah.
And then when we finally messaged each other and said, let's just get on a Zoom and get this done. And we just thought it was just going to be so hard. But once we just said, okay, we're going to do this, then it was more like, oh, okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's so obvious. And that's so obvious. And that's so obvious. But we'd been thinking about it for 8 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So that part of the time when as a freelancer kind of needs to be accounted for in your pricing.
Right.
So
yeah, and so it took you just a little bit of time to complete it, but you were marinating over it for months. So you think about on the other side, that's something else that I'm working on as well, is putting timelines on how long I allow you to clients to marinate, right?
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
With my direct clients, it's not as big of a deal because I have direct communication with them. But the ones where I have someone's outsourced to me, and they're the middleman, and that's my only contact. That's where it gets difficult for me. So I'm trying to work through that. But I had a client who paid me for their web redesign in January, and then just last week said, "Hey, we're ready to go. Here's all the content." I'm like, "Ooh, now I've got to juggle. I've got limited time in July, and so now I've got to juggle everything that I was trying to get done between now and when I'm unavailable." Yeah, it's tight. So it's not going to go as quickly as initially. I told them it would go rather quickly. So that was kind of me, putting a wrench in my customer experience.
Well, I mean, that happened to us all the time in construction. So but that's why I think it was Jennifer Bourne who gave a talk about saying, oh, you have X, and it starts at this point, like right now, or we have availability. But if you don't meet your deadlines with the content, then you are put in the last in the queue.
Yeah.
The production schedule, and it costs you a fee to get back into the production schedule. Now with construction, we would go through that all the time, and I would tell my boss, but he'd be like, "Oh my God, now we have to do all this. Now I have to hire another person." I'm like, wait, but they're saying jump and you're just jumping. And that's part of why we like freelancing, is not having that
right, being
kind of
reactionary.
bad
We like
boss.
having the control.
Right.
Yeah.
You produce you control the environment, and you can control the way in which that environment's structured. It's not like you have multiple bosses. It should be that the rules are set based on how you've set up your rules, and then they need to somewhat comply with those rules. Obviously, they're the ones paying you, so they're going to kind of get you to do what they want you to do. But yeah,
it's hard though, Jason, because I was a secretary. The phone rings it's one ring. So that's 30 years of doing this, right? Probably why this arm is so strong. But that's reality. And I've had to do that myself, where I'm like, the person says, "Oh, so I sent you an email and I need you to fix this." And I just you know what? I'm not responding right now because I don't have to. And then I'll write in an hour or two after I finish what I already decided I was going to do today. And then I'll go, "Oh yeah, I had some other things I had to do. Here's your blah, 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 blah." Right? Unless they're part of my Twitter Pro plan, where I'm in their Slack, Basecamp, Asana, Trello situation,
right.
But I have one-off people, and they message me and they're like, "Oh, I have a project for you." I'm like, the next day, "Okay, thanks." But for me, but in my brain, I'm like, "Oh my God, that has to be done today. It has to be done today. It has to be done today." It doesn't have to be done today. It's not even due in their thing until Saturday.
Right.
But that's another thing that we have to account for when we're bidding on or quoting our projects. Is so we might have our spreadsheet, and I'm using my hands because that's how I talk. But we might have our spreadsheet that has all of our expenses on there, but then there are the unseen expenses, which are your time, and that time includes networking, because whether it's online or in person, you've got networking time. You've got the time that you take to go through your emails and prioritize, right? And then there's all the other stuff, the bookkeeping, that you actually have to take time for, unless you're outsourcing it.
Right. Even on the project, you have the research and development side of it, where you may know 10% of how to get the job done, but you have to spend, another 90% actually figuring out how to do it.
Right.
And that goes back to that project versus hourly, because it's like, well, have I ever done this before? It's going to take me an hour. Oh, I've never done this before. It's going to take me 28.
And that's another good point too, Jason, is that, we have to build that into the quote, the research time, but it's also learning for us, right? And so after we've done that once for a client and we've learned some of it, we might then realize, okay, this is something I will have to do again, or that I want to do again. So now I need to go take a class to learn more in depth. So you have to budget for education as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the thing. And so it's funny when I talk to my clients and they're like, oh, and I'm like, oh yeah, I used to do this. Oh, did you know I used to work at a travel agency and we sold river cruises? They're like, what? You're the perfect person for this. And I'm like, you there's this song called Broken Road, and I sang it at a wedding once. Of course, they're divorced now. Like I can't even sing at weddings. I'm like the bad luck charm. But I love this. I love that song by Selah or Rascal Flatts, whatever version. But it says, God bless the broken road that led me to you, because like all these things that we thought were mistakes or weird fractures in our career timelines, and then all of a sudden they come together and you're like, whoa, everything you've ever learned makes you who you are and valuable at what you do, because even if it's not exactly the same, it's very similar. Like 20 years in construction, and then here I am. Like it's the same stuff. You're bidding, you're quoting, you're delivering. There's clients, they're happy, they're not. Sometimes they take down the work that you did, and you have to have pictures for your portfolio. You have to have PDFs and screenshots of your design, because like all the time I see these portfolios and they're like, click here to this website I did. Well, you don't know if somebody decided we don't like that, we're going to use Shopify, and you were just like, hey, I built this WooCommerce store. This is so great. A year later, it's dead. But they took it down, then it doesn't exist, right?
And it happens all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. So like that's a factor too. And so you're building your portfolio, but like part of this talk, which I'll link to in the show notes because it's only like 5 or 7 minutes, they talked about when you're hiring a freelancer, it's not just the rates that matter. It's that reliability, that they're available for communication, that they're not going out of business, that they're not, disappearing on people. Because a lot of times people go, oh, I'm freelancing. And then 8, 10, 30 weeks later, oh, I got a job. A real job.
A real job.
And then now they're a real job. Not a resource anymore. And so building in that portfolio and that relationship, it takes time.
Yeah. Oh no, Rhonda.
I think we lost her to the internet.
All right, we'll see if she comes back in.
But yeah, like that's happened a lot where you start to use somebody and then they're like, well, I can't do this anymore. Or I don't do this. Like I refer out all the time for website builds. I don't build websites.
Oh yeah.
And then so it's like those conversations we've had before, Jason, where we're like, maybe we should check with the person we're referring to before we refer them, because it's on us. We don't want people to go round and round and round in a circle either.
Well, and their schedules can change. Their schedules can change. The things that they're currently working on could be different. They may have some personal things that are happening that are going to limit them to be able to actually complete the job. Like there's a whole myriad of reasons why. But yeah,
they might have moved across the country.
Right. That's true.
Had a kid. like things change. So it's good to like, so Rhonda, like one of the things we're kind of thinking about is like having that deep bench, that dream team, like the Chicago Bulls in the 90s or whatever, right? So like, how many backup freelance like vendors and freelancers do you think people should have?
Oh no, I think we lost her again.
She's got to tell people in her house to get off the internet.
Right,
This
exactly.
is what always happens to me. It was so funny. I used to tell my husband, "Hey, you can't be on the internet." He goes, "Well, I'm just going to watch Netflix."
You're like, that's literally all of it.
And it was back when we had the antenna thing. Remember, that was so popular for a while.
Oh yeah.
I go, "No, you have to watch TV that comes from the air." Broadcast television. He's like, "Why do I have to do that?" I'm like, "Because I'm on the show. That's why."
Yeah. Well, to answer your question about how about making sure that you have enough resources available. Hey, there she is.
I'm on my cell phone now.
No problem. So the question that Bridget was asking is, when you're working with different freelancers, how deep is the bench that you need to have in order to make sure that you are able to, get the job done? Do you need 3 developers? Do you need 2 developers? That was your question, right, Bridget?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it really depends on the project, but I always try to have an ongoing relationship with at least 2 of everything I would need. And like for this project, I really had to search because, when you design for political candidates or political campaigns, it can get a little messy. So you have to be strategic about who you can ask. Well, if you can't ask your first 2 that you have on the bench, you have to really start digging deeper. So that's why it's important to network, not just so that you can get jobs, but so that you can give jobs, so that you can complete, the whole thing through you, whatever. But it is important to have a really deep bench in everything, to be quite honest. This particular project is print design, but who knows down the road, what I'm going to run into. I might need a developer, 2 developers working simultaneously on 2 very different things. And because sure, maybe one of them could do everything, but the project timeline might be so tight that I need them, I need them to speed up. So if I have 2 people working at the same time, it's that much faster.
Right. And then you can take on other work.
Right. But remember, if you're not good at project management, you don't want to take on too many projects at one time that require you to manage other people. So like right now I have this one going on, not taking on anymore until it's done. Not taking on anymore where I have to outsource. How about that? Right.
Yeah, because ultimately you're responsible for it, regardless if you have the skill set or not.
Right.
Or someone else on the bench is going to have to be brought in and say, okay, hey, I need you to pick up the pieces, and here's what needs to be built, and here's how it needs to be done, and all that sort of thing. So how I want to explore this real fast. How does someone in this day and age keep the bench warm? If we're going to continue to use the word bench, how do you keep that bench warm? Like, how do you make sure that you have all those people? It sounds like you have to have a lot of friends.
Well, you do.
But managing all those friends all at the same time. Like I have like this many. I'm holding up my hand here. I have like however many can fit in here. This is how many that I can, and depending on how small they are and how many I can stuff in this spot. But like I have that many people that I can manage at a time. How just to be friends, just to make sure. Hey, how's it going? You still breathing? Cool. What's going on? All those sorts of things. Like how are you managing that, and how do you kind of keep those relationships open and working?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, one way is, Bridget,
So Bridget's managing my Twitter, so I don't have to get on it. Yay. The other is that, as soon as you make a connection, if at the very least you can only connect on LinkedIn, then do that. But if you could connect with them on, as many platforms as you are on, that's great, because if you don't see them on LinkedIn, you'll see them on Facebook. If you don't see them on Facebook, you'll see them on Instagram. If you don't see them on Instagram, and see them on Twitter, that kind of thing.
Right.
So you can follow them that way, because, the algorithms are slightly different. I use Instagram very differently than how I use Facebook. Instagram, it is golden retrievers and, fuzzy butts, right? Dog butts.
Just to be clear,
Right.
you're about to get a lot of spam, Rhonda.
Yeah, no weird fetishes. No, but so that's how I use Instagram. So I miss a lot on Instagram, but those occasions that I do scroll through something other than dogs, I'll comment, oh, I haven't seen Monica in a long time, and oh, look, she posted about her dogs, and so I'll comment, that kind of thing. So they're staying top of my mind when I actively engage like that, but also I'm the top of their mind. So it's a two-way street. And so if I can do that on every platform, and I am not good. I was really good on LinkedIn for a while, and I would tell you the last few weeks I've hardly done anything. So I have to revisit, but that's how I am with a lot of things. I'll go hard for a long time, then I pull back.
Yeah.
But
that does help too, because this is why we do it, to stay top of mind. And then I always hear people say, oh, well, Twitter is all just politics. It's just a waste of time. Well, no, that's all you're looking at. So the computer is doing what you've told it to do. Okay. So people blame the algorithms. I'm like, you want it to change, then change your behavior. You haven't heard from Janet in a long time, then go to her page. Right. And that's being intentional when you use social media. And it's funny, because I don't manage Instagram for anybody, and I never want to do it again, ever. But I do help train people on how to use it. So I find that because people use Instagram since most people should use Instagram differently, and a lot of times they do, Instagram can be that kind of more personal side. I find it more personal than Facebook. So Instagram and Twitter are where I find that I'm actually having conversations, both in comments and direct messages, with my kind of tribe, And so I feel like doing that is a good thing too. So I've actually been doing a lot more lives lately on Instagram. And the other day I was like, well, why am I on this so much? Why do I give a crap if WordCamp Asia is posting a link in their Instagram that nobody can use? And then I ran about it on Twitter, and then somebody else says, well, they can copy and paste. I'm like, this always goes down to, do you even know what a user does on this platform? Because you cannot copy text
on a phone that's in Instagram.
In Instagram.
Yeah, and short links might be short and they're nice, but how many people are going to remember all those letters and numbers that just don't make sense, so they don't make full words, right?
That are uppercase and lowercase and are very specific.
Or you say link in bio, and the link isn't that anymore. That's what I'm saying. So when you use Instagram for the backstory of things, here's the behind the scenes shot. There's this cartoonist called Tom Gould, Gould, and he's really interesting. He will do his cartoon, and then he'll make it because cartoons have those panes or whatever. Mm-hmm. You can't have all of them like you would in a newspaper on Instagram. So he just breaks them up. So it's a carousel. So, but every once in a while he has the outtakes. So it's his sketches of other things, and that's what makes it feel more personal, So, but I mean, I guess people could use the CRM, Jason, and be like, okay, these are my people. I mean, you and I made a spreadsheet for guests on the show, and then I have a list of their specialties. But and then when my brain goes, I don't know, because I can't think anymore because I wrote too much this week, then I go look at my list. But
I guess the reason why I asked that question is because, like, when you were a kid, it's really easy. Like, you walk down to your friend's house down the street and you knock on their door and you say, "Hi, can so and so play?" And they're like, "Yeah," and then that's it. Where now it's like, okay, well, if you're an adult, or maybe if you're just somebody that maybe you're a teenager, well, okay, now you're texting your friend, you're calling your friend, you're doing those sorts of things. So I guess what I'm saying is that there's a lot of these plates that need to continue to be spinning. And if the plate stops spinning at some point, then that person on the other end may think like, oh, this person doesn't really care about me anymore. And I'm just getting this crazy random text message saying, hey, are you available to work on this project? And you're like, where were you when I needed to pay rent? Like that sort of thing. So I was just curious about like that side of it, because even though it's not a marketing, the marketing piece to it, I think at some point, that it either means, well, not that if no one calls me up and says, hey, why aren't you, can you, if no one's asking me to work on a project, that's not my problem. It means that I should have either, I guess it is my problem now that I'm thinking about it.
But marketing's communication. So it is a two-way street, like Rhonda said. So like, I almost messaged this one client that gives me one-off things because he hasn't pinged me in a while. And then as I was about to message, I got a message in Slack. But I did just add some vendors to my MailChimp account and tag them as vendors, because I want to be more like, hey, how are you all doing? And how can I serve you? And because that's what I want to be. I want to be somebody who serves other people. And so like, how can I help you? What do you need? And then it reminds me that like these people all have, we don't always say, I'm always preaching, if you're taking clients, you need to tell people on the internet. Okay. But you go, oh, we don't want people to think we need money. It's not about needing money. It's about saying you have a couple spots open and this is your opportunity to get in. Because like now, I did a couple of sales calls. If even one of those turns into a real thing, I am completely at capacity.
Great.
But I'm at capacity. So when you're at capacity, you kind of stop marketing yourself subconsciously, but you still have to feed that, steam engine, right? So the vendors, like having that, like sometimes I just DM people. I'm like, how's it going over there? Like, do you need work? What's going on? Like, I want to be that person who, and I think this is what you were kind of saying, Rhonda, is like, that's the networking part. That's I'm going to jump on a call with you and just see how you are. Like a lot of my clients are my friends, or they became my friends. And
and that's because you nurtured that. And, as a designer, I always teach content first, content first, content first. Content is king, but it actually is second, because the very first thing is empathy. And it's not just about a nameless user. It's about empathy for someone else on the other side who has to hire. They're concerned about budget, right? But they want impact, and you have to learn to empathize with them and connect with them. And the best way to do that, I mean, you could do interviews like you do for user experience, right? But the best way is to start a relationship, just like you do your friends. I grew up in Texas. I was born and raised. I lived here for 34 years until I finally moved away. And so I was rarely the new kid on the block. But then, having to move with the military, becoming the new kid on the block every couple of years was really hard. And so I had to learn to make friends fast, ask questions, get curious about other people, and not worry if they're curious about me. Just start becoming empathetic with them. And then when I'm empathetic with them, they become empathetic with me. They want to understand me, because you know that famous quote, the most interesting people are interested.
Oh.
And so this this broadcast is about your pricing, but you notice, because I watch a lot of your shows, almost every one of your shows in some way ties back to networking and relationships.
Yeah.
And another thing on that note too, it's those relationships that help you make sales, and not just to them, but to others. And you can be less skilled, but more financially successful if you are good at communicating and good at sales.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
a mic drop.
Yeah, why didn't you start with this earlier, Rhonda? Jeez, it's like we're halfway through the show.
Crap. We need to like 35-minute mark. We just need to I need a little part of that. We're going to throw that all over the internet.
But hey, listen,
wait for the
because I know this, and I'm saying this does not mean that I'm perfect. I am terrible. I do not like doing cold calls. I probably can count on both hands how many times I've done cold calls because I don't like it, but I should, because they work, because then I can turn those into relationships. Because my favorite thing to do, believe it or not, is not to close the sale. It's to connect them with somebody else that they need to solve a problem. I actually love it when I'm not that person.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe there's something wrong up here, but
I'm like you as well, where I'll hear somebody struggling about something, and they're not telling me what it is that they're having a problem with, but they're signaling that there's an issue currently happening. And I go, what are you trying to do? And they're like, oh, my emails aren't working right, and I'm trying to send out a MailChimp campaign, and they're explaining all this stuff, and then come to find out it's just like they didn't know this one little thing. And I'm like, I know a person that can fix this for you. Here, go, and here's the person. I'll be your connector.
But that is nurturing.
Yeah, heck yeah, it is.
And it is marketing.
Yeah.
See, Jason?
Yeah.
You're like a marketer who doesn't know that you're a marketer.
I know this.
I do have to tell you though, Jason, you and I both have to be careful, because I was at an event in San Diego, and I met some wonderful people there. And I was having so much fun connecting other people that I forgot to tell them who I was and about me. And a friend of mine lovingly came to me and said, "You are stealing from these people." And my heart just sank. I was like, what? And I'm getting chills now remembering that feeling. I was like, I don't know how to take that. I don't know what you mean. So I asked the person who was rooming with me at the time, Kim Thornton, and I said, how am I stealing from these people? I thought I was helping. And she said, because you are failing to show your value. And she goes, yeah, even if your value is connecting people to other people, if they can't remember who you are and how to connect to you later, there's no value there. And they know nothing about me. They don't know that I can connect them to someone else in a different area down the road.
So how would you have approached that? Like if you could go. Oh no. Somebody start up another Netflix show.
I'm working.
I don't know.
Dang it.
I'm gonna kick her out so she knows that that it happened. Let's see.
The kids are in the pool again, huh, Jason?
The kids are in the pool again. Yes. All right. I'm gonna kick her. All right.
But yeah,
Darn.
right. Like, okay, so no, that's interesting that she says that, because that's happened to me where a couple of times. So they say, oh, I didn't even know you managed Twitter. That's
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
Sorry for all
Rhonda,
the.
you had this like very profound response that we were trying to decipher, but it sounded like you were sending it in Morse code, and I have my ham radio license, so I had to sit there trying to figure it out, but it still was taking a little while to get. So yeah, if you don't mind,
I just wanted to apologize to those who don't know, who are watching this later and don't know what's going on. We've got electrical work going on in the house, and yeah, we accidentally switched one breaker off. So, yeah. So what was it you were trying to decipher? I don't even remember where I was.
Well, how would you have prevented that feeling of
right?
They don't know you because you're too connector-y.
Right. So I'm still trying to work through that, because that just happened in October, and I was like, oh, I thought I was finally hitting my groove, right? So, and then of course COVID happened, so I haven't gotten to practice that much since then. But I know now that I need to learn how to talk about myself, and that's part of what's the word? Not humiliation. I don't know. You're shy, you know, and you don't want to feel like you're bragging.
Yeah.
You know,
like boastful or something.
Yeah. That part I haven't worked through, and that's just me being honest with you right now.
Yeah, I have a similar problem in that I tend to get people who come to ask me how to do something, not them wanting me to do it, but how I would approach it. And then I would answer them, and then they go, well, thank you. And then I never hear from them again about it. It's like, thank you for getting me to the point where I need to be. And I'm out. And so it's not something that's, I mean, it's probably something that's marketable, but it's not something that I figured out how to actually make it so that I can make money doing it.
Yeah.
It sounds like clarity calls, but the clarity calls are even worse because they want to have a full-on conversation about it, where I'm just trying to get them to the point where they can go and do it themselves. Yeah. And so, I don't know.
I mean, the Future and Chris Doe have a little video on how to do your elevator pitch. Yeah, I help insert, industry, do blah blah blah. It's like a Mad Lib, and it was a different way of an elevator pitch, because elevator pitches are so whatever.
Yeah,
they feel salesy and gross sometimes. Yeah. And so I mean, sometimes I downplay what I do, because I'm just like, I put words on the internet. I don't know what to tell you. Like my neighbor, I just asked me again, what is it that you do? And then I just, I'm reconnected with one of my friends on Instagram, and he was like, wait, you manage other people's Twitter accounts? I'm like, well, that's what's paying the rent. So, yeah, people pay for that.
Apparently I'm doing it right.
And like, well, how does that work exactly? And I'm like, that's what I'm saying. It's just like, because especially the three of us kind of have that Christian background where it's not about us. And so sometimes it makes it a little bit difficult to talk about what we do without sounding like, I just say, well, I'm awesome. That's why there's green arrows. And they say that, and you're just such a jerk, but no, you just did extra work. And then you go, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, it's all about the work. You just do more work. But then they're like, oh, what do you do? But do you do this? Do you do this? Do you do this? And so then you're like, okay, it's hard. It's hard because one of my friends from commercial roofing was like, I don't understand, Bridget. You were in roofing, you had all these relationships with commercial brokers. Why did you go to tech? Why aren't you managing for commercial brokers? I'm like, I could. He goes, but why aren't you? Well, I don't know.
It's a special kind of person who likes to work in their home, first of all, or for themselves, by themselves. I mean, although technically you're not working by yourself. I'm not working by myself. But yeah, there's that isolation, physical isolation that we thrive in. But mainly, I think so my experience has been I like the control. And even though there are instances where I feel reactionary and when I'm not in control, for the most part, I am.
Yeah, 100%, because I can work as much as I need to, which might be a lot. And usually my friends are like, "It's Sunday, stop working." Okay, I shut my computer down.
Right. Yeah. When my husband was deployed, it was almost every waking minute was either my work, which at the time I was employed, but it was either my work or my grad school work. So because I had nothing else going on during the week. I mean, on the weekends I would, occasionally take time with friends, right? But I was new to the city of San Antonio, so I didn't have very many friends. They were usually grad school friends. And so when we got together, we would be talking about classes or studying together, that kind of thing. But yeah, it was 24/7 almost, other than the sleeping time, that I was working, and I loved it. I thrived. And, the husband is home. And right now he's home every day, all day. And so now I'm struggling because when do I feel like I'm allowed to work?
Right.
Yeah. But still, it's that choice to be self-employed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's that I can still control this, even though I feel like I'm not allowed to work, after dinner time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to transition into our tour tip of the week. And since you have been one of our past sponsors, I thought I would give you the opportunity to tell us a little bit about your business and what you do, and then I'll collect the money from you later. How about that?
Well, I am a rebrand and web design specialist, and I do rebranding because that's the most exciting. That's when people are ready to launch to that next level. I do initial branding for startups as well, but my real forte is in rebranding, to help people reach that next level, transition from, just the person working in their basement to the person who could, if they chose, have a home office, an actual dedicated home office, or, an office in a shared space or something, or start to hire employees, because there's always that next level that we're reaching for. So yes, that's what I do. I rebrand and I redesign websites.
I'm definitely going to tell people about Bradley Scott rebrand, because I'm going to link that up in the case study, because how do you rebrand somebody who has BS as their initials? It's
Right.
you did such a great job on that. It blew my mind. So,
Thank you.
that's things like that people don't think about. Like, I was driving in Anaheim and there was like a website on a window of the name of these apartments. And I was like, that's the worst website. How do you say that? CTR, something center space, but it's not center space. It's CTR. Like citycenter.com, but it's CTR. It was like when we were rigginsconst.com. So I couldn't just be rigginsconstruction.com, like Bridget Willard.com. Right. I said, I don't even know how many times in the 9 years I worked there. It's at rigginsconst.com. It's Bridget at rigginsconst.com. So stupid. But that's why you need a branding person. It's super important.
Yeah. Short is great, but memorable is better.
Well, and not just memorable, but how you say it with your mouth.
Right.
Because we pronunciate words. I said that on.
Wait, we do? Purpose. No way.
So my tour tip is kind of a behavior. Things have been really stressful for everybody for this whole basically last 4 months, and things are rising to the top. Other things are rising to the top during this time. And I've noticed, just being out in the pubs and stuff lately, people are really on edge. And also during some of my sales calls and stuff. So my tour tip of the week is grace, because we say kindness, but what actually, kindness is more like the overarching like category, but grace is saying like, oh wow, I bet that person didn't mean to insult me. You know, it's about extending them some extra room. You know, I bet that person didn't mean to uh, be late, or didn't mean to forget my email, or didn't mean to, you know, do that. And we talk about grace a lot in the religious context, but just in a normal context of how we treat one another, that just like benefit of the doubt would be more colloquial, but like maybe people didn't mean it that way, you know? Maybe
Right.
that's not how can we kind of serve people in this time, because everybody is so upset and so on edge. There's like the other day, I mean, last night there was somebody who's like, "Oh my God, why are you being such a bleep?" To my friend, I go, "She's not. She's just from Chicago." Like people from Chicago are aggressive to Californians, you know, and like because we're like, "Hey, dude, what's going on?" You know, hang whatever, and so you know, just everything's rad, everything's chill. But the banter that people have from Chicago, the East Coast, that's a totally different vibe. And you get a bunch of people from Chicago together, and it's like, why is everybody so aggressive? They're not aggressive. They're just from Chicago. It was like my friend Felix said, it's not that we don't like you, Bridget, we're just German. You know, and sometimes it goes to that empathy, right?
Yeah.
How about we assume that the person we're dealing with has the best intentions instead of presuming that they are trying to be mean. That is my tip. I'm working on it.
That's a great one. That's the best tip of the year.
I'm working on it because it's very easy to be like,
right.
What you talking about, Willis?
Rhonda, what about you? What's your tool or tip?
So Ted Linhart, I met him in Seattle a few years ago, and I've been following him. And he wrote a great book on negotiating your worth called Nail It. And so you can go to tedlinhart.com and look it up. I really enjoyed it. And I've learned a lot about negotiating from him. And I got a lot of my confidence from being around him and listening to him. Because when I met him, I had just moved to Washington State. There it is. Yeah. I had just moved to Washington State. I didn't know anybody. I had been laid off from a full-time job where I was a telecommuter. So in 2015 was the first time I didn't have work. And I think I met him in 2016 when I officially decided, yeah, this is going to be my thing because we're going to move again one day. And learning that entrepreneur mindset over employee mindset, that's quite a transition. But now that I'm aware of it, and now that I know it, and I have that mindset myself, I can spot that employee mindset in others really quickly. And I feel like I need to coach them out of it, even if they want to continue to be an employee. I feel like I need to coach them out of it to kind of save them from themselves in the future should something happen, because jobs will go away.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to be laid off or fired in your career. And if you haven't been, it's coming. And 100%. So if you have something on the side, if you have interest outside of your employer, that's the best way to save yourself. If you network, even if it's on behalf of your employer, but people know you, if something happens, you've got a network and people know what you do. Because I tell you that 2015 was a year of depression for me. Really, it was. I didn't know what my value was. I didn't have friends yet there. And so I was really alone. My husband was still working on his doctorate, so he was busy all the time. Plus, he was having serious health issues, so I was really alone. And I really want to save people from that employee mindset, even if they always remain an employee of someone.
Sounds like we need you on another show.
Oh,
Okay.
darn.
I'm addicted.
Darn.
Shucks.
I will be on everyone that you want.
Oh man. Well, I'll show you mine. So I've been because the fact that I've been in the house and haven't actually seen very many humans, I'm super excited to be able to start seeing, other humans. And so I've been looking for ways that, and this may help me with the whole thing we were talking about earlier of like how to make sure that other people know who I am and what I'm able to do and all that sort of stuff. So I've been looking through, this is one of those things, man, you look on Instagram and then there's some Instagram ad shows up and it's like, why are you thinking? Like, how do you know what I'm thinking? And it found me and I was like, okay, fine. I'll throw $10 at this thing. Let's see what happens. So my tour tip is this card called a tappy. So here's a tappy. And what it is it's a card that has a QR code on it. But it's not just a QR code. It also has an NFC tag inside of it. And if you don't know what NFC is we'll take my phone here real quick and we'll take the card and we'll put the card behind the tag and you see a little pop-up comes up. So if I open up that pop-up, it's now going to take you to a page. Let me get it out of the frame of the beauty light that has all of my contact information on there.
That's right.
So think of it as like the bio page for your, for your Instagram or whatever. So these things are fully customizable. What you can do is, if you look in here, it's not just the page itself, but the card itself is customizable. They put a QR code up in the corner, so if you don't have NFC, the person can still scan it with your, camera on your phone and be able to take you to the page. You can customize what the name on the bottom of it is as well. The page itself is fully customizable. So you can put, a little graphic there, how to contact you. Here's all the different usernames that you have. And then quick and easy, just like they're showing here, you hold the card up to it and it pops up a little notification and you connect to it.
So it holds all the people that you tap. It holds it in its own app as a contact or in your contacts.
So the card itself essentially is just a web address. So think of take the technology part of it out. It's if I told you go to tappycard.com/Jason Tucker or something like that. The card itself, when you scan the QR code, that QR code is what takes you to that web address. Same with the NFC. The NFC is what tells the phone, hey, this thing's a notification. I want you to go to this website. So it's only websites that's being loaded up on this thing, but it makes it so that you don't have to have a special app or anything. Just when you go to that page, you now see what they are showing here with the list of Johnny Appleseed and all of his different social media handles that you can go on to.
For dating, because like I've met people in the bar.
You have a good one and a bad one?
Yeah. And they were like, well, I missed you. I'm like, dude, I've given you my card so many times. Like you could have called me. We could have hung out.
Yeah.
You don't, I mean, but you're just like, that's what I'm saying. Like, but so like this guy does door work and I'm not trying to date him now because I have a guy, but I was
you have
like,
a door,
wait.
so you don't need door work.
No, I do need door work. And I go, Johnny, his name is Johnny. I said, what are you talking about? I need door work. Do you do that? He's like, yeah, of course I do, Bridget. I do everything. And another contractor I know goes, oh no, I don't do doors. That's specialty. See, just construction is the same. Like, and so I'm like, well, I need me to be in your phone.
Yeah.
Right now, because I need a quote, because I need my door replaced or fixed. It's a security issue. Like, don't everybody come and kill me.
What's interesting about this thing is one of these on here can be your phone number. So they could just tap on it. Because now the person walked away with their phone.
A web address.
With the web address that has all the things that, like on here I have WPwatercooler's information on it. And then here's like my YouTube, here's my Instagram, my Facebook, my LinkedIn, and my Twitter. Right. There's also one that you can add in there that's the phone number. So if they tap on it, it will make a phone call and then be able to connect.
So you don't even need multiple cards. You just need the one tappy, and you can like put a hole in it, wear it like a dog tag, and just whip
Totally
it out.
can put it behind. You can put it behind
on
your
your
put it behind
lanyard.
your lanyard. Yep.
At conferences on
Yep.
your
Oh, that's a
lanyard.
good idea.
Yep. And so the device itself is $12.99 for it. They say that it's normally $29 or $24.99, but it's $12.99. You type your name in there, you get up to 50 characters to put as your name on the bottom of it. And then when the card arrives, it comes with a special web address that you go to that allows you to log in and make changes to what shows up on the website. So this is like all this technology is something you can build yourself. Like I actually went and reverse engineered this entire thing to figure out, like, can I just make this thing go to my like bio page that I have?
Of course you did.
And yeah, of course you can definitely do it. You can put your own QR code on there, but to get these things printed, the printing part is what's going to cost you. So don't try to build one of these. Just go buy one of these things from Tappy. My tour tip next week is going to be something very similar to this, but a different technology. And we'll kind of walk through how that one works too. Anyhow, we are up. Time is up. Rhonda, thank you very much for hanging out with us. I really appreciate it. Your family can now go watch Netflix and do whatever it is that they were doing to ruin your internet. Real quick, Rhonda, where can people go and find you?
fatdogcreatives.com. So it's fatdogcreatives with an S.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Rhonda. Here is our outro. So if you want to support us on Patreon, you go to patreon.com/WPwatercooler and help us out over there. We'd really appreciate it. Here's the fine folks that have helped us out recently. If you like this content, hit subscribe, hit the little bell if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're not watching us on YouTube, you could subscribe to us there as well. And we're an audio podcast. So if you want to listen to us, you can definitely listen to us by going over to WPwatercooler.com/subscribe. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.